after I had my daughter, I then had a scan, and they told me that I didn't have any cysts on my ovaries, but they could see the remnants of cysts, so they knew that I had had them previously. So for me, that was just the most amazing confirmation that I had done that work and I had been able to heal my polycystic ovary syndrome.
Hey, beautiful. Welcome back to PCOS Unfiltered. I'm your host, Lindsie, and today's episode is one I think so many of you are going to feel seen in, because we're talking about what it's like to be told something is wrong with your body, but not being given real answers on what to do next. Today, I'm joined by Natalie Hellman, and her story is one that so many women with PCOS will relate to. From irregular cycles as a teenager to painful ovarian cysts, hospital visits, and being told that her fertility journey might be difficult, she found herself stuck in that space so many of you know all too well, frustrated, overwhelmed, and searching for answers. But what I love about this conversation is where it goes next. Natalie didn't just accept that this was how it had to be. Instead, she began exploring a more holistic path, looking at nutrition, environmental toxins, stress, and how all of these pieces impact our hormones in ways we're often never taught. In this episode, we talk about what PCOS actually looked like for her beyond the typical symptoms, the emotional toll of living with pain, uncertainty, and lack of control, how small intentional changes in food and lifestyle created real shifts in her body, the impact of toxins in everyday products and why it matters more than we think, and one of the biggest themes of all, how to start taking your power back without feeling overwhelmed. And maybe most importantly, we talk about hope. Because if you've ever felt like your diagnosis took that away from you, this episode is here to give it back. As a reminder, the content shared on PCOS Unfiltered is for informational and educational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guests are not intended to serve as medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, exercise, or treatment plan. The information shared is based on personal experience and expert interviews and is not a substitute for professional medical guidance. Now let's dive in. Here is my conversation with Natalie Hellman. Welcome back, and welcome to Natalie. Super excited for you to share your story and have you here with us today.
Thank you.
So, first question. Many women, obviously, of course, that are listening, have probably heard of PCOS, and they probably have their own story. But I want you to kind of share your story and what PCOS actually means to you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Lindsie, for having me on today. So my journey really started when I was probably a teenager, and my menstrual cycle was all over the place, and no one seemed to kind of tell me what was going on. And I think that it was probably more towards my early 20s where I really started to want to look into what was happening with my like hormone cycles. They were still really irregular all over the place. And I was diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome. I actually didn't have a lot of the more kind of typical symptoms at the time. However, my hormone levels were just all over the place. But it was more kind of later in my 20s that I discovered that I had incredibly painful cysts, and that was the main symptom that I was suffering with. So I was in and out of hospital, having checks, having scans, being told that I had cysts on my ovaries, but I wasn't being given any kind of solutions. And I was leaving the hospital feeling very frustrated and kind of quite isolated, really, in not knowing what direction to go in. I was also told that it was probably going to be hard for me to have children, and I may have a tricky fertility journey. And that all kind of really played on my mind. And being offered going on the pill contraceptive pill to kind of settle the symptoms, for me wasn't a valid solution at the time. And so I really wanted to kind of delve deep into finding my own answers, really, and really looking into how I could support my hormone health um, with what was going on in my body, because I knew that I wanted to make a change, and I knew that I was probably going to have to try and make that change myself. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think so many people can relate to that story because they don't know where to go for answers and they're just kind of given the prescription and this is yeah, and then feeling the way you did, frustrated and everything. I think so many people um can relate to that. So I appreciate you sharing that. So for you, when
Mhm.
let's kind of dive deeper.
Yeah.
So you said, periods were kind of, all over the place and everything. Like what else were you experiencing? And then maybe even the emotional side of that, what
Yeah.
was going on there?
So for me, I was experiencing quite severe pain, and that pain, what it felt at the time like debilitating, and so I had to keep going into hospital to get checked because I was concerned about what that was, and I was being told it was a large cyst and it would disperse itself. And I was very fortunate in the sense that they did disperse themselves. I didn't have to have any removed, but I know so many people that have to go through various different
Mhm.
procedures to have quite enlarged cysts removed from their ovaries. So, that was probably a really big one for me. But the emotional side of it, I think I just was feeling like you touched on, so frustrated that I was having to live with wondering if I was going to be in pain tomorrow or if I was going to have to go into hospital next week. And
Mhm.
that was not a feeling of control or balance. And I knew also that I really wanted to have children, and I knew that my parents had struggled to have me. So I'm an only child. And so that really played on my emotions, really. And also, I had been on various contraceptive pills, and some of them really didn't work well for me in the sense that they made me feel either really low in energy or very, very, very emotional. I'm quite an emotional person as it is, so I just didn't need that extra kind of sensitivity. So I really went on this journey to, like I said, really kind of figure out my own wellness with regards to my hormone health.
Mhm.
And that's sort of where it sort of started. And I knew that I I wanted to heal myself holistically, but I didn't really know what that looked like. Um, so I spoke to so many different people who also had polycystic ovary syndrome. And that's the other thing about PCOS is there are so many different like kind of experiences that people have with regards
Yeah.
to symptoms and being symptomatic. And I know as well, there are so many people out there that have PCOS and wouldn't even know that they have it because there are no symptoms that are showing. So really for me, I went deep into looking at how I could support myself basically. And the sort of first port of call for me was really looking at my nutrition. Now I knew that I lived a pretty healthy lifestyle. I was in my 20s. I was running pretty much like 2 times a week. I did various other exercises and workouts. So I knew that I was active in that sense. but I knew that I could probably be better with supporting my diet in a sense of, you know, getting rid of refined sugar, getting rid of those sort of processed foods. And that wasn't necessarily forever, but it was almost like a test to myself to see how I could affect my hormones. Because I learned about so many things like that could disrupt my endocrine system. And therefore, that would be a reflection on my insulin levels and my blood sugar levels, and therefore my hormones. And I am not a nutritionist at all, but I wanted to do this research for myself. And so that's how I then discovered um, a plan where I basically removed allergenic foods from my diet for 30 days. I actually did it for about 3 months in at that time because I knew that I really wanted to see what that impact on my body could be and could look like.
Mhm.
Um, and I read a lot about non-toxic products in the household, non-toxic products on my skin. And I know that now that is quite a big thing. People are becoming so much more aware of what is toxic in their household and in our environment. And I
Mhm.
know that so many things we can't control. We can't control everything. But I just wanted to make a start of the things that I knew that I could control. And it's then that I really started to see an impact on my hormone health. So that's sort of where that sort of journey started, I guess.
Yeah. So with the nutrition, so you said you were removing things. So did you kind of remove all the allergens that, after doing your research, like everything all at once, or did you kind of go systematically? Um, yeah, tell us about that process.
I I wasn't I wasn't going really strict into it. I was just trying to do it like kind of you said, like a little bit systematically. So
Mhm.
slowly at that time, I was like trying to eat more whole foods, less processed foods, like less refined sugar. So it was about reducing things to kind of start off with. And then after that, cutting out dairy. I knew that dairy didn't make me feel great. I often felt really quite bloated with dairy. And I think I've just always felt like that because I've never really liked milk, which I know is really strange. So I just started using alternatives, and they just made me feel better. Like I just felt so much better in the morning as well after having breakfast. So yeah, slowly it was removing dairy, it was removing gluten as well, and also alcohol and caffeine as well. So they were sort of the big ones. I read a lot about soy being a hormone disruptor, so a disruptor of the endocrine system, and I worked really hard to try and avoid soy because it is in so many products. I don't know
It
about
is.
in the US, but in the UK, it is in so many products. So it was just about me being more aware of what I was putting in my body. And, like I said to you, I wasn't going really extreme. I was just doing it quite gently.
Mhm.
And then from that, I then became pregnant with my daughter. So that was already a huge sign for me. And especially after I'd been told by doctors over the years during my 20s that it was going to be really difficult for me. So I was really grateful to myself for doing that work and really kind of taking my health and my hormone health into my own hands, really.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So how long into the journey before you got pregnant then?
3 months.
3 months. Okay. Yeah.
So I did that work for 3 months, and then became pregnant with my daughter. But
Yeah.
previously to that, I did come off of the contraceptive pill many years before because I
Hmm.
wanted my own body to kind of I wanted my cycles to become a bit more kind of regular naturally.
Yeah.
And that did sort of help getting that hormone out of my system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I think that that also was a factor for me.
Yeah.
Um, because I know so many people, again, like I don't know what it's like over there in the US, but so many people here in the UK have been on the contraceptive pill from the age of like 15 to like when they
Hmm.
want to, have a baby. And your
Yeah.
body being on a contraceptive pill for such a long time, your own body's hormones forget to, do what they need to do.
Do exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I have a number of different friends who have been on the pill for so long, and then when they come off, they don't have periods at all. So,
Oh.
yeah. And so, I think I was quite aware of that, and I wanted to make sure that I could kind of do the best I could with
Mhm.
not having the contraceptive pill and
Yeah.
for such a long, long time.
Yeah. So how, like, what did you notice even after 30 days, if you remember? But like, was there anything specific? Do you remember after like 30 days, 60 days, into that journey that really stuck out to you?
I
Changes
think
in
it
your
was,
energy, skin, your
yes.
cycles, like anything.
Yeah, so my cycles were so much more regular. And I think it had just taken so many years for me to feel like my cycles were regular.
Mhm.
Because I just was never used to that really. When I was younger, I used to have periods for 2 weeks. And then I wouldn't have one for like another couple of weeks, and then I had another 2 week. So it was all over the place. I was all over the place, and which is probably why I was probably a bit of an emotional wreck as well at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you know what it's like being a woman. Like it's those feelings that you also have on your monthly cycle where you get all of those hormones and those feelings. Um, so yeah, I would say probably in within 30 days, I started to really notice a difference with like my skin, my energy levels, definitely my sleep as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and I just felt so much better in myself, so much lighter and brighter. And the energy thing was a really, really um noticeable thing that was impacted, I think,
Mhm.
as well as then after I had my daughter, I then had a scan, and they told me that I didn't have any cysts on my ovaries, but they could see the remnants of cysts, so they knew that I had had them previously. So for me, that was just the most amazing confirmation that I had done that work and I had been able to heal my polycystic ovary syndrome holistically. I know my journey is different to so many other people's journeys, and like I said before, everyone's symptoms are so different. But the reason why I really do love to share this is because I think sometimes people don't realize or recognize that they can take this into their own hands and, speak to someone like yourself who can help them with this journey and also give them hope when maybe someone in the medical profession has maybe taken that hope from them, because they can't tell you this is going to be hard for you or this is going to be really
Mhm.
difficult. Like, I remember hearing those words and thinking, that will not be my journey. That is not going to be my journey. And it hasn't been, thank goodness. But I know so many others that have been told the same. And, with their own journey with polycystic ovaries, they have really struggled. So, I hope that I can give a little bit of hope to other people who might be feeling in a place of anxiety or worry with regards to having a diagnosis of polycystic ovary syndrome.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you bring up so many good points there because, first of all, the mindset, too, like just not accepting like that this was just going to be, how it was. I think that's an important first step. I've I feel like I talk about that a lot on other, episodes, and even just for I've had other guests on that don't have PCOS but still have been through other things, and it comes down to mindset a lot of the times, but you chose to then just, you know, become your own advocate and, you know, take that self agency, I guess you want to say, of your own health.
Mhm.
Um, what would you say would be like a good first step for somebody wanting to do the same? And granted, like you said, everybody's so different. Like their symptoms are going to be different because of their background, and it
Yeah.
might, things might take longer, for some than versus others. But what would you say might be like a good first step for somebody that's really wanting to take back control of their health?
That's a really good question. And I think that really kind of there are obviously so many things that people can do and look into. But I think something that I really like holistic therapies. And while I was on my journey, I also went to a an acupuncturist and Chinese herbalist. And she really helped me to become more in tune with my body alongside me really doing that research and really looking into, how I could support myself. So, what I would say to someone who is maybe thinking about taking those very first steps is, you know, eating whole foods, that is one thing that you can make a swap. You can eat more of the rainbow of fruit and vegetables. And I know that that sounds really like simple to do, but there are so many more healthier swaps that we can do with regards to we have a lot of processed foods out there in supermarkets now, and it's just about making those healthier choices and starting to create some healthier habits around, snacks, and rather than reaching for things that are full of sort of refined sugar. I think that could be a really good starting point. And I never want to sort of overwhelm people by giving them too many things to do at once. Like it's about starting small and having those like small incremental steps moving forward over time, to kind of really help ingrain those habits. And also, the elimination program that I did, I don't, that wasn't forever. I eat gluten, I eat dairy, I have coffee, but I live by a bit of an 80-20 rule. I also know that for me, dairy doesn't make me feel great because of doing that work. Because when you
Mhm.
eliminate allergenic foods, it reduces the inflammation in your body and your gut. And also, it gives you signs when you start to reintroduce those foods back into your diet. Oh, actually, that doesn't make me feel great. Or, oh, coffee really gives me the jitters. It really gives me like palpitations or anxiety.
Yeah.
So it's a real sign of what works for your body and what doesn't work for your body. And I think that learning about that is a process, and a
Mhm.
process that is going to help your hormones in the long run. And none of this is a quick fix solution. It's all about,
Mhm.
really taking, like you said, ownership of what feels good for you in your body, and trying out sort of different things, really. I don't know if that answers
Yeah.
your question.
No, that's no, that's great. I mean, and that's a lot of what I do, like with my 90-day program.
Exactly.
Um, because and I tell people along the way, first of all, we also lay some groundwork, to before we even start doing any of removal of anything. But I was guilty of it myself. Like you feel that way for so many years, and you just think that's how you're going to feel and that's how you're supposed to feel. And you don't realize how good you can actually feel until you kind of
Mm,
give your body that big, reset and
mm,
tell it that it's safe and it's okay. Like, you're in a good spot. And, ties into calming the nervous system, of course, as well.
Yeah,
So, yeah. And then eventually, yes, you can probably add some stuff back, but yeah, it aligns very well with what I do with my clients as well. So I'm glad you said
absolutely.
that from your own experience too, because
Yeah. And
I
it's
think
really
that's super
important.
important.
It's really important that you just talked about stress, actually. Well, parasympathetic nervous system,
Hmm.
because that's also really important when it comes to hormone health and hormone rebalancing. Um, and I think that when we live in a world now where I think there's such a high number of stress. It's something like 85% of people are stressed. And the thing is
Yeah.
when you have stress in your body is distressed. So it means that, it can manifest itself in so many different ways. So it's so, so important to do something for you that is going to really help to ground you and to really support
Hmm.
your nervous system, because that is a huge piece on its own before you even think about things with regards to the kind of nutrition side of things. And that mindset work and nutrition together can just it just can really work wonders. And I
Yeah.
just think people can just check in with themselves and be like, am I feeling really stressed right now? Am I taking too much on? Is my balance feeling off? What can I do to bring myself some balance back? That might
Hmm.
even be something really small, like, okay, I'm going to do a walk outside in nature for 5 minutes every single day.
Hmm.
And it's about those small habits that you can kind of build in that, just like you said, make you feel good. And I think
Yeah.
as a woman, we put up with so much in the sense that we're like, oh, I don't feel great, but I just have to live with it.
Yeah.
And
I
I
got
just
pushed
have to
through.
deal with it.
Yeah.
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 But that's
Yeah.
not okay. Like, you shouldn't
No.
be living your life like that. We should be
Hmm.
living our life feeling really great. Like, why not? We only have one life. Like, let's live it feeling the best version of ourselves, mentally and physically, and
Exactly.
doing the work on ourselves to harness that.
Yeah. Yeah. If there's one thing I want you to take away from today's episode, it's this: you are not stuck. No matter what you've been told, no matter how long you've been dealing with symptoms, there is always space to support your body, to understand it better, and to begin creating change one step at a time. I loved what Natalie shared about hope, because that's really what this journey is all about. Not perfection, not doing everything all at once, but choosing every day to listen to your body a little more and support it a little better. And that might start with something simple: adding more whole foods, taking a few minutes to regulate your nervous system, or just getting curious about what your body is trying to tell you. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. You just have to start. If you love this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up next. Share this episode with someone who might need a little extra hope today, and leave a review so we can keep spreading this message to more women who need it. And as always, if you're ready to go deeper into your own healing journey, all of my programs, resources, and ways to work together are linked in the show notes. I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you on the next episode of PCOS Unfiltered. Nourish, heal, thrive.